wanted to see what would grow and what wouldn't grow. We're at about 2,900 feet. It was actually a greater revelation.
Somehow I think our Father has a purpose in all of this. One of his purposes is to keep us in the Word.
But what we're trying to show people is that they can actually do this. And I know they can because we're doing it. Hello again from Camp to Mead. I'm going to take you on a little journey today. We're doing some watering, irrigating of some of the plants. And I just want to show you as you're starting out in your little settlement, wherever you are. We've been encouraging people to get out of the city. Some people say, how do you do that? Well, one foot in front of the other, and pretty soon you find yourself doing it. Here's a little thing that we're doing. We're waiting for some chips. On our last video, we showed you that putting chips on the garden reduces the watering substantially, almost down to nothing in some cases. But until that point that we have the whole garden done that way, we're going to water it. It's kind of the traditional way so that we can keep our plants alive, and you have to do that. Here we have at Camp to Mead is what you're going to want to have in whatever form you can find. You can look at this creek here that we have. The ultimate source, beautiful source of water, nice crystal clear mountain water. And we're going to be using that for our irrigation, whether you have a well or whatever. You need a water resource. There's a reason why it's called the water of life, because without water, no life can exist as we know it. So I feel it's very fitting for Yeshua to be the water of life, because we obviously need him more than anything else, and without him we don't have life, him being the author of life. So here we have water. Here we have a bucket. This is actually, we're using our fire pump that we have for emergencies for fire, and we have it in a bucket here. The intake goes into a bucket so that no sand and gravel gets into it. There's a bit of a top on the top of this bottom of this pipe here, goes into the bucket, and that holds us in a safe place in the water. It's always going to be underneath the water. And we've got our water coming up here, and it's gradually coming to our pump all uphill, because when you start going like up and down with your water lines as you're feeding your pipe, what happens is you get airlocks. So that we've tried to make it so that we don't get any airlocks. And we're going to prime our pump right now, and then we're going to start it. So we have to prime our pump. And here again, if you have a place where you can have gravity water irrigation, that's fantastic. We could do that, but it's going to be a lot of work, and it's not ultimately where we want to be anyways. We want to be able to irrigate intelligently, having chips and so on, and doing minimal water. But I'm a firm believer, while you have the equipment to do it the easy way, use that while you're working towards not having the equipment, i.e. gasoline, to run combustible engines, whether that be tractors and so on. But we have a tractor, we have this equipment. It makes our jobs easier and faster to get to where we need to be, and that will be without gasoline ultimately. And by the looks of what's going on in the world, that may not be too far down the road, so you don't want to waste time in getting there. So we're going to turn this thing on, see if we can get this pump going, fill up our irrigation line. You can see the fire hose there. We need to get that rock solid so it will pump water. So here we go. We choke, put the choke on, a little bit of gas. Right, okay, here we go, and it's a Honda, so it should go first pull. Let's see. Oh, would you look at that? Okay, choke off. A little bit of gas on. Sucking a bit of water, but there's going to be some air in there. And there's a little bit of water coming in there, but we also have air, so you can see the bubbles coming out of here. Got to get that air out of here. Now we have problems sometimes, and the air rushes out, and then all of a sudden we have water, just a fountain, and I usually get completely soaking wet, and this Okay, we're going to go to the garden, so we'll meet you over there. All right, we are now back in the garden, and you can see the other day we transplanted some raspberry plants, and some of these plants are doing a little better than others. You can see we still have a little bit of green, which is good. So if we have a good enough root system, we've got to pour water on these plants in order for them to survive. And you can see some of them are doing all right, but they did take a little bit of a beating on the transplant because we got some hot weather. But we've done this before, and it's worked as long as you can get water. And you can see we put some shingles on there so that the plants are not in the full sun all day and they're shaded. This helps them immensely. And you can see here we've got our good water supply that we're pouring on those plants, and you want to give them a good soak down, a good gallon or so each plant. Just keep that root system nice and wet. And here we have the other ones we planted here the other day, and they were a little further along, but they're going to need water too because they were transplanted as well. So there we go. That's our update on what we're doing here today. And well, actually, one more thing. We showed you some rye that we were growing. In the raw form is very tasty when you rub it in your hands. And this is what the disciples were doing. They were rubbing the grains in their hands, and it was counted as harvesting, and they got into real trouble. They were just going like this, and when this is ripe, these little grains here, you can see the little grains come out, and they just come freely in your hand. This isn't quite ready yet, but these are delicious. And when these are ready, you chew them up like that, and it's like gum. It's like you can chew them, and it's just like gum. These are very sweet. So there you go. That's a little update. We're up here on a beautiful day in the mountains. Just gorgeous out here. Just love it. So we will talk to you later, and thanks for joining us for another few minutes of a tour of Camp to Me. So long for now, and God bless you.